Hi, I'm Doug Warhit. I'm an acting coach. I'm an acting teacher. I work with actors. I'm in Los Angeles, but I work with actors all over the country and all over the world. Today, I'm going to touch on part one, Introduction to Crying on Cue. Before I get started, just to let you know, and I'm sure most of you know this, do not do this work while you are driving a car, operating heavy machinery, doing anything that requires your undivided attention. You want to be safe in order to let yourself be opened up to being vulnerable. And you can't do that if you're distracted doing something else that could be dangerous. That is your responsibility. A safe, quiet environment where you can just focus on the work. Also, when you're doing this work, it's very important to be relaxed. So you want to start from a relaxed place. A very simple exercise. Close your eyes. Starting at your toes, with every breath you take, I want you to silently repeat the word relax. And as that word is repeated, it moves up your body, and you feel yourself becoming more and more relaxed. Take as much time as you need to do this. Once you've done this, let's start to focus on the work. First of all, I'm going to talk briefly about a film that Meryl Streep did called Sophie's Choice. She won the Academy Award. This is about 1983. I'm sure many of you have seen this film. If you haven't seen this film or haven't seen it in a long time, it's extremely worthwhile to view or review. Meryl Streep's choice in this movie is given to her by a Nazi commandant. And the choice comes down to she has to choose one of her children to sacrifice to the Nazis. They will put that child to death. If she does not choose one of her children, one of her two children, they will take both of her children and put both of them to death. Her character breaks down, starts crying, extremely vulnerable. It's a harrowing, awful, incredibly moving, disturbing moment in the film. I can assure you Meryl Streep was not worried about crying when she was doing this scene. She was worried about her children, surviving, saving them. That's where her focus of attention was. Sometimes actors get an audition, they get the sides, and it says in parentheses, she cries, he cries. And the actor starts thinking, oh my God, what if I can't cry? What if my agent gets pissed off at me, gets negative feedback, or she gets negative feedback from the casting director? What if I can't do this? Maybe I'm not good enough. I shouldn't be an actor. And all those thoughts are so upsetting to the actor that they start crying. Now, if you start thinking the thoughts of the character at that time, it is possible you can use those thoughts and therefore those feelings in the scene. I do not recommend it as a choice of one of your tools or techniques to use in your preparation because it's debilitating, it's exhausting, and it can be abusive. Also, it says in the parentheses, he cries or she cries because it's the middle of the night and they stub their toe, and you start crying because of all those other thoughts you've had, they may not fit the scene you are doing. Just because the emotional result is real doesn't mean it fits the material. So it's not my first choice of a technique or tool to use. Let me give you some tools that I think might be effective. This first tool is called reverse psychology. So if you're working on the scene and you're having the thoughts of the character, one of your thoughts can be, no matter what that person says, I won't cry. Or they can't make me cry. Or I refuse to let them see me being vulnerable. Sometimes by giving yourself permission to not do or feel something, you are able to feel it. But this is very important. When you're doing any of the exercises I will give you, or doing the preparation on your own for any audition, you cannot be monitoring yourself. You can't be noticing whether the emotion is manifesting. Because as soon as you do that, you're out of the scene. So as soon as you're thinking, I'm not crying, Why am I not crying? Where's the emotion? You're not in the scene. You're trying to evoke or push an emotional result. But I can assure you, no acting class or no acting teacher has told you to focus on the emotion. You want to focus on the circumstances that the character is experiencing, the thoughts, the objective, the prior circumstances, the strong moment before, all of those things as part of your preparation. You're not thinking all of those things while you're doing the scene. When you're doing the scene, you're focused on the other person, you're listening and trusting your impulses. You're not monitoring the emotion. Another exercise you could use is take music. Most of us are moved and inspired by music. Have some pieces of music available to you that put you in different emotional states. Some music might be music that might make you cry. So for example, let's say you're doing a scene about the breakup of your relationship with somebody else, your significant other. Pick out a piece of music. So while you're doing the scene with another person, the music is playing. And then while you're by yourself and you're thinking the thoughts of the character, you have the music playing, but you're thinking, but I can't do that when I'm at an audition. I can't do that when I'm on the set. You're right. Good point. I wish I had thought of that. But what you want to do with this exercise is you're doing the scene, have the music on. Then you're doing the scene without the music, but you're still experiencing it. So with, without, with, without. Experiment with it. See what works for you. Try different pieces of music. Certainly before your audition, certainly before you go shoot on the set, you can be listening to this music. Again, it's a color. It's as if you're a painter, you're an artist, as if you're a painter and you're adding a color and you're seeing if it works in creating the overall picture, if it's helping you create that overall picture. But you can't be harsh on yourself. You can't be vindictive, because it will not help you get involved in the circumstances. Another tool I'm going to give you, but first I have to give you something. This is very important. When you're doing this work, particularly with the tool I'm giving you, this is not therapy. If you need therapy, if it's evoking emotions or bringing up things that you need to deal with a mental health professional, please do so. This is your responsibility. If this feels like it's crossing the line for you and it doesn't work for you, don't do it. Or talk to your therapist about what's appropriate, or see someone. This work I'm doing is to help you create a character. It's not to do therapy. So here's the exercise. Some of us grew up in families where emotions, certain emotions, were not acceptable. Turn that frown upside down. Big boys, don't cry. Big girls, don't cry. Certain emotions were not appropriate, maybe all emotions. So here's a simple exercise. Close your eyes. I want you to imagine, visualize yourself as a small child. Now visualize yourself as the adult you are now, coming into the same picture, getting down on your knees next to that small child. Put your hand over your heart when you do this visualization. Tell that small child that you love them unconditionally, that all of their emotions are okay. It's okay if they laugh. It's okay if they get angry. It's okay if they're sad. And it's okay if they cry. You do this exercise every day for a few minutes with your hand over your heart. Okay? You're creating a trigger. So if you have an audition or have to go on the set, if you've done this every day for a few minutes, hand over the heart, thoughts, visualization of you and that small child, you're giving yourself permission to express all emotions. Okay? Now, very importantly, when you're doing any of this work and you're finished, you don't just walk away. You have to put yourself in a different emotional state. Otherwise, you may walk around depressed all week and not know why, and it's not necessary to stay in that emotional state all the time. So, for example, if you're doing the exercise with the music and you're finished doing the work, put on happy music. Dance around, sing. Go take an ice-cold shower, run around the block, do self-talk. No, we're not breaking up. My spouse, my partner and I are not breaking up. My relative didn't die. All the things that you were saying to get yourself into the scene, you're going to be saying the opposite. So if you spend time putting yourself into the emotional state, please spend the time you need to do taking yourself out of the emotional state. Okay? Focus, just relax, just breathe. This is a good place to stop for now. This is the end of part 1. Crying on cue, an introduction. Thank you.